this is kind of where I wanted it anyway. So, hey, oh shit. You want to know something? We've already had an interesting evening as far as hardware goes. Oh boy, it's an earthquake. Holy shit. Hey, this is the SNews. We don't usually start this way. I'm Tony Solo, and hey, we're live. This is the SNews for August. With me tonight is my buddy Dylan, and he looks like he's just had some extracurricular activities. What's going on, Dylan?
Absolutely, yeah. Hello, everybody out there. My son is in the Cub Scouts, and they had their summer picnic today at this really small, ramshackle type of swim club. It's one pool. It's like not very big, and it was all right, but it was a lot of fun. Just had all the kids in one end and the other, and crazy. It was crazy. So they're still there. It goes till 9 o'clock. So I'm here now doing this.
So you snuck out just a little bit early?
Yep, I did, because I got to do the snooze.
Of course. So tonight we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to touch on the Olympic opening ceremonies, which happened last Friday, which was a lot of fun. Going to talk a little bit about Two Lantula, which was last Saturday's movie. We'll talk about Dylan's stupid friend at work who doesn't know how to tell the difference between a new movie and not. And we're going to talk about something that Dylan and I both had a big issue with, and it was coined SyFyence, which is the science of sci-fi movies. And where do you draw the line? Because there was a couple of things in a couple of the movies that Dylan and I both had problems with. So we want to talk about basic physics maybe and some other things.
We'll get there. But yeah, it reminds me of cartoon physics, but we'll get there in a little bit.
You want to know something? Dude, I can't wait till we talk about that, because I was going to bring up like Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote type stuff. But hey, everybody should be wishing Paseko a happy birthday. Today is his birthday, so we're gonna wish him a happy birthday. Looking ahead, yesterday, and I have to send a belated happy birthday, was Helena's birthday. And you want to know something? She is my buddy Mike's side piece. So a little bit crazy, and I'll tell you why it was a little bit crazy around Tonyland. I have to send that to Helena. But looking ahead, the next birthday that I see on our little birthday wall is Jay's birthday. Jay of Con Sweet Con, Nicole and Jay. Jay's birthday is on the 3rd of September. And if I flip over, there's going to be a couple other. We got Matt's birthday coming up, Matthew Foster, and Brian Adams' birthday coming up next month. Those will probably be part of the next snooze, which probably be maybe September 8th. We don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But Helena, I missed your birthday yesterday. I'm very sorry, and I'm going to send you a happy belated birthday message in a second. But while I'm doing that, the Olympic opening games, Dylan, did you enjoy them?
To be honest, Tony, I missed them.
I thought I saw a couple of tweets from you, but
they were more retweets. We were out and about doing something. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was something going on that we were out and about, and we just didn't get back home in time to catch it. But reading the tweets, as always, was not disappointed by Lisa Marie Bowman or Kelly Toole. And I think even you got in the game a little bit, didn't you, Tone?
Yeah, I was in the game a little bit, but dude, you want to know something? Kelly, Lisa Marie, and T. Scott, there was a bunch of SnarkAlecs. It's me, Cara Marie. Cara Marie was tweeting. There was a bunch of SnarkAlecs. There was a lot of funny stuff. But, I mean, it seemed like for every 30 seconds of show that they were broadcasting on TV, they had a minute and a half commercials.
Yeah.
And my goal was to stay awake until Portugal. Because for some reason, Kelly and Lisa Marie have a big problem with that country. And it was almost anticlimactic because I remember the big tweets that I was waiting for ended up really being Portugal, boo, from Kelly Toole. But it's interesting because there's some countries that have like these big teams that come in, like you know, it all depends on how many events that your country's going to enter in. That's how many athletes you bring with you. You know, today I watched rugby. Great game. Okay.
Was it the regular or the women's one?
No, this is the men's, and I guess it's the men's 7 because they only play 7 guys instead of, I guess, a regular 15. I know nothing about rugby. So, yes, we're talking about the Olympics and we're talking about sports.
We got a lot more sports to talk about, too.
Yes, we do. Fantasy football. But Fiji, I think the only thing that they do is rugby. And they won the gold medal today, and I think that's it. They're done. Okay, so they ended up friggin' wiping the field with the Brits, and you know, so they only have like maybe 12 guys or 13 guys. So I mean, they could say here's Fiji, and by the time they say here's Fiji in the opening ceremonies, they're already talking about the next country, you know, and you know there was. With every delegation, there's always a couple of people who dress a little bit funky, and then there's a couple of people who look like they're stoned or drunk or just like acting like, from what I would say, assholes. You know, if you're coming in representing your country, you know, you can show your excitement without looking like a dickweed. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're this is the world stage. I mean, it's not just your country watching it. The whole world is watching it, and they really are, because all their countries are in this event, or in the opening ceremonies as well. So, yeah, look a little nice, man.
Yeah. So, after Portugal, I fell asleep.
It was late though, wasn't it? It was like midnight or something.
Well, they had it also on an hour delay, so that also feeds into making it a little bit of an issue. You know what I mean? Plus, I mean, it really was. I mean, I was reading about it for the next couple of days, how the ratings for the opening ceremonies were very low, and you know, do you remember Dick Ebersol?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, he passed away, and he used to be like the head of NBC Sports, and the Olympics was one of his babies. Like, you know, he nurtured that crap. Man is dead, and I think the coverage has suffered because of that. However, you know what they have? And I stumbled upon it the other day, and I want to find another similar channel. I think it may have been either last Saturday or last Sunday. I was just flipping around, and I found the Olympic soccer channel. They called it the football channel.
Right.
All they did was show match after match after match with absolutely no commercials. There was no commercials, okay? When one match ended, they would show you like some video, like a live feed of a stadium or something. You would hear orchestral music, and then the guys would come on about a minute or two right before they started playing, and then the game would go. Halftime, you got that music again, and then soccer. This game ends, next match starts. You know, and it was really cool. And I'm not a big soccer guy, but Olympic soccer is definitely worth watching. I was watching field hockey before. Okay, the U.S. ladies wiped the shit out of India. They're undefeated. But yeah, commercials and crap. I mean, come on, give me a freaking break. No commercials. If there's actually field hockey is one of those sports where there are stoppages in play and they
Right.
can shove commercials in. So there was so that's our Olympic sports coverage. So do we want to talk about fantasy football now and get all the sports out of the way?
Yeah, let's get all the sports out of the way right now. Yeah. There's not really much to talk about, I don't think, anyway, about fantasy anyway.
So what do we have so far? Do we have a tentative date for?
I haven't actually, to be honest, Tony. I haven't looked at it, but I mean, preseason games started today. I'm probably going to take a look at it probably this weekend, and I'll get some information out there, see if anyone's interested. So anyone who's been in the league before, if you're still interested, keep an eye out for an email from me about the fantasy football. And I don't think there's going to be any changes this year. What do you think, Tom?
I think it's going to be interesting. I think we're probably going to go back to some different scoring, I guess, because of the big brouhaha we had last year. We're going to change that, maybe cut that back a little bit, because there was, I personally liked it, but there was some people, and I guess they get a little bit more serious. I mean, we're not even playing for money or anything like that. If we're playing for money, I could definitely understand there's no change in rules and stuff, but just to make it a little bit more interesting, but
I mean, I'll take a look at it. I mean, I after that first little bit, I didn't hear any problems from anybody for really the rest of the year. I mean, once or twice something popped up, but I'll take a look at it and see if maybe I can lessen it a little bit. But it was still fun. I liked it.
Yeah, I like to see those scores go up. I like to see those scores go up. Hey, listen, if you've got a good team, you're going to win. But if you have a mediocre team and you're playing somebody with a good team, you still got a shot, because if they have kind of a crappy week and you have a decent week, you got a shot. Better than seeing the same people at the top of the heap all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because everybody knows with fantasy football, all it takes is a couple of injuries and they could torpedo your team, to crap. So we'll see. Speaking about preseason football, another thing that happened during the Olympics, I was waiting for something to start, and I was flipping channels. I was going through the guide, and I saw preseason football on Sunday. Okay. Oh, the Hall of Fame game. Yeah, and it's going to start in a couple of minutes. I flip over to the channel. Yeah, the game's been canceled. Field's not good. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
I think from what I remember, they had a problem last year also. I think the Steelers were whining about it also last year. They got a couple injuries or something during it.
Yeah, and basically, hey, Myrna, you're watching this news? Yes, you are. Okay, so if you're watching this news, if you want to ask a question or make a comment about this news, that's great. But please, don't send me pictures of bunnies in a chat, because I got a notification. Okay, let me check. Oh, Myrna's sending me a picture of bunnies, and she's sending the picture of a bunny to Midgie Girl and Matt Foster. Hey, you want to know something? Try, is it too much to ask to, if you want to send something about the show, it's great. But if not, you don't have to send me a picture of the bunny. Okay? Thanks. Appreciate it. Because we could talk about sports all night long, and I won't look at Twitter once you go away, because you're the only one that asks questions. Anyway, so today I was supposed to jump out of an airplane.
I saw that.
Or I was supposed to fall out of an airplane. That's the way I put it. Brianna wants to do it, and there's no way she could do it by herself. Hey, guess what? The first time you jump out of an airplane, you're not alone. You're strapped to somebody who knows what the hell they're doing anyway. So I'm scratching my head, still trying to figure out why I have to go. Hey, I'll pay the money if they just let me take the plane ride. That'd be pretty cool. But I really don't want to fall out of a plane. And before anybody, oh, you're a pussy, why don't you jump out of a plane? Okay, so at every shore location that has any kind of rides, they usually have something that looks like a slingshot, and sometimes they harness you in and they pull you back, and you just swing back and forth, and there's lots of different variations. Okay, so down in Wildwood, they have something that looks like that, except it basically looks like a giant tuning fork, and you sit in a ball and they pull the ball down, and then there's a whole bunch of springs and stuff, and then when they release you, you go flying up into the air, and then you bounce down and you bounce up and bounce down and bounce up.
Wow.
I have done that. Okay, I have done that. I am not, so long story made short, when I was like 27 or 28, me and a guy that I work with, we're going to jump out of an airplane. And I was like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I had people telling me, no, you can't go, no, you can't go, no, you can't go. We were going to go to a place that was in North Jersey, because I still lived in New York City at the time. The weekend before we were going to go jump, there were 2 fatalities of people jumping. And the thing that made it really big, and it's the same thing that happens with shark attacks. Once someone gets attacked by a shark and it's a slow news day and they put it on the news, now every time somebody gets attacked by a shark, you hear about it. Do you think nobody's been attacked by sharks this year? Yeah, there have been shark attacks. It's just there's other stuff going on. They've got the convention every other day. Donald Trump says something. On any given day, they've got a space in the news for, this is where we're going to put Donald Trump's quote from today. Okay, so you're not going to hear about the shark attacks. Anyway, the weekend before I was supposed to jump, there was a fatality out in Long Island, okay, which is local to New York City, and there was a fatality in North Jersey. I went to work that Monday and I said, dude, I ain't going. So what do you mean you're not going? 2 people just, and he's like, 2 people just died. That means our chances of getting killed have dropped down from like 0.1% to like 0.00000, like infinite number of zeros and a 1. And I was like, yeah, but the way I look at it, someone is sending me a message, because you never hear about fatalities, when it comes to, I mean, I'm sure they happen all the time, but you don't. And, just for giggles, I Googled that. It was actually a couple of fatalities out in California, but they didn't make national news. Like, we didn't hear about it over here, and there's a big story out in California. So, however, we've been having a really hot summer, and the last couple of days were really nice, and then today the heat and humidity came back in, and the winds were 13 to 16 miles an hour, and they don't jump over 10.
Yeah,
anything over 10, they don't jump, because you can drift too far, and the winds are variable and unsettled and blah blah blah. So that got canceled, and we ended up going someplace else and doing some other stuff. Nothing dangerous, but so that
one day she'll get there. One day she'll get there.
Yeah. I'm not gonna have to go though. Well, I took off today and tomorrow because there was a whole bunch of things that we were going to get done, because she's going back to school for weeks. So, it's a bucket list thing for her. So we got that out of the way.
Yeah, my nephew just started college. My sister drove him down to college, I think it was yesterday, and got him set onto his dorm and stuff like that. I guess it's starting earlier, or maybe he can stay to get acclimated and then they'll start. But they live in Virginia, and he wanted to go all the way down, like at the corner of like North Carolina. It's like the Shenandoah or something like that. It's like an 8-hour drive for my sister to get down there. So she's having a hard time. Her firstborn son going to college is going to be 8 hours away. Poor
yeah, I don't have that problem. Brianna's about an hour away at LaSalle, and LaSalle is right in the middle of Philly, and I drive in that neighborhood every day. I've got some clients in that area that I see on a pretty regular basis, and there is times where I'm less than I spend a good amount of time less than 3 miles away from where she goes to school. So she ends up coming home a lot. You know, if there's stuff going on in school, she stays. But, you know, sometimes, you know, hey, guess what? It's your cousin's birthday. Yeah, Dad, come pick me up on Friday. You know, so at the end of my day, I pick her up and bring her in, and then we either take her home on Sunday night or Monday. So, you know, it works out pretty good for us. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, you know, speaking of Philly, you may as well mention this. You saw the tweet from Gerald Webb, right?
Yes, I retweeted it, and I actually popped you in on it because there is a mystery event going to take place, and I believe it was on September 1st. Yeah. I
thought it was the 1st, but I could be wrong.
Well, you want to know something? I can check that out because, yeah, but he said more details were going to follow. For some reason, it stuck in my mind that whatever day it was, I thought it was going to be a Thursday. So, but I included you because don't know what it is, because the last time Mr. GW had something going on in Philly, it was actually when he had the showing for A House Is Not a Home. And that was actually a little bit closer to you because it was in Wilmington, Delaware. So that's about an hour and a half from you. So not knowing what it is, I mean, even Philly, I mean, if you could take that drive if it was something worth it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, it's just like September 1st. Yeah, I saw the tweet. September 1st. Yeah.
I said, you want to know something? I got to put that on my calendar. But yeah, so and I also retweeted it, and I tagged a couple of people on that tweet, people who I thought might be close enough. Like, well, Myrna came down for A House Is Not a Home. She's not close. I mean, she's 3.5 hours from Philly, or 4 hours from Philly. But Jerry Fletcher isn't that far, and of course Nicole and Jay and AJ is in the area, and Doug Close is out near where Larissa is. Which is, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours from Philly. So it's definitely something that is doable. So we'll just have to wait for additional information. I was going to mention it.
Okay, sorry, I had to stump the gun.
Yeah, no, I forgot about it. Like, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll mention that Gerald Webb thing. And depending on, so it is the 1st, maybe if I actually see Gerald on the 1st, I can invite him to come on the SNews and hang with us if we actually do it on the 8th, the next, you know, the SNews for September. So we'll see. We'll see. So we talked about what? Everything, almost. We didn't talk about Lava Lancha.
No, we didn't do that. Nope.
No, we did not talk about Lava Lancha. To Lava, to Lantula. So, the reason I did that, Dylan, tell me how you felt about To Lava, to Lantula.
It was fun. I just the movie references out the wazoo got a little grating after a while. It was almost like I think Kelly mentioned it on the after show, is that with SharkNado you get the cameos. With To Lava, to Lantula, you get these pop culture references, stuff like that. And where it's funny, it gets kind of old a little bit, too. I still enjoyed it, though. It was an enjoyable, typical Saturday night show. A lot of good tweets out there. I enjoyed it immensely. It's just pop culture reference. Okay, we get it.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's, and this is going to, it could almost segue into our next conversation. But I don't know if it's because there was so much sci-fi in so short of a period of time. Even though that there was nothing on before that, you know, for a week. We're just coming off SharkNado week. And there was a lot of stuff.
I think it was a good.
Oh, yes, hey, Myrna, yes, I did tag you. I retweeted it, and I put your name on it. So don't say I didn't tag you. I did tag you. So don't call me a liar, all right, bitch.
And yes, Scott. Yeah, I was, as I said, I was annoyed by the pop reference, just because they kept banging our head against it. They said, "Here, let's do a pop culture reference, pop culture reference, pop culture reference." And as I said, I mean, that's fine, but it gets annoying after a while. But I think it was a good palate cleanser after Sharknado week.
Well, so there's a very famous Saturday Night Live clip that I actually retweeted it recently. The cork soaker bit, where there's a tour in an Italian winery, and Janet Jackson is in the group, and they're talking about soaking corks. And we all know what they're really talking about. They're talking about soaking corks. Okay. And they're tiptoeing around the soaking of the corks the whole time, but then they bring out grandma who's got no teeth, and she's become more popular more than ever since she lost her teeth, because she's one of the best cork soakers, and all this is going on. Then they were talking about Jimmy Fallon was one of the guys, and I don't remember the other cast member's name, but they're trying to talk about the time where Jimmy Fallon was soaking his cork and he was soaking Jimmy Fallon's cork at the same time. And they said, when did that happen? 1968? No, I think it was 1970. So they were playing around. So they did the same thing in La Valantula when they had Alligator Dundee, and they kept on looking at each other, and it's like, okay, we get the joke. It's Alligator Dundee, not Crocodile Dundee, and his name was Jim, and they kept that joke going for a good minute. It was like, okay, we get it. And the reason when we brought it up, when I started the conversation, I started snoring. I fell asleep. I fell asleep at the end of that movie. Okay, I missed the last 10 minutes, but I had DVR'd it because I like to do that just in case, there's something I want to go back and see, because I do that a lot when I'm watching. Sometimes, what did he say? And sometimes, I'll just rewind it, and I'll play it again, and then when it gets up to the commercial point, I can fast forward until I'm caught up again. But sometimes it's I'll see a tweet and I'll be like, that doesn't make any sense. Did I miss something? Because sometimes you could be tweeting while the movie's on and you miss something. So, yeah. And I said to myself at the end, I was like, I'm sorry. I went back and I didn't watch the whole thing. I went to the 1 hour and 45 minute mark and watched it from then. And the references were good. I think the first movie was so good as far as the references went and stuff, and this one just kind of fell flat. When they were doing the Florida references at the beginning of the movie, where he goes into that place and they're doing the Scarface, where they have the guy for the bathroom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they got Scarface, right? And then their clothes are all messed up. So they go into this place and they come out looking like Miami Vice. I was like, okay, I tweeted out, okay, so we had this and this. What's the next reference? The writer tweets me back and he says, nope, that's it. We ran out. They needed a third one. They needed a third visual reference, and they didn't have one. If you're going to go on that, you need 3. I think you need 3 of, and
what they should have done, the CSI Miami sunglass thing that what's his face used to do all the time, but they would have done that. Maybe
do that, and then play that music from The Who at the same time that they use in the theme song. Okay, and that would have been it, Dylan. That they would have come out, because guess what? Crockett and Stubbs wear sunglasses anyway. Make them come out. Okay, we get it. It's Miami Vice. Make them do the sunglass thing, and then play that chord that they play from the, okay, that would have been perfect. That would have worked, you know, because now they would have taken 2 references and built them into one, but they would have ended up with the trifecta. They would have had 3, and then they could have moved on. Dylan, you should have been waiting for them. Overall, it was a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was, no, I mean, I might have been complaining, but you know what? It was a fun, what we expected type of film. You know, giant spiders shooting lava at you, and you know, Steve Guttenberg. Which the one thing that drove me a little crazy about that performance was his, and I probably know why he did it. His like talking through chewing concrete, and then when he was around his kids, he was talking like Steve Guttenberg. But then when somebody was like, "This is you know,"
that annoyed the hell out of me. I will tell you the truth. Like that annoyed the hell out of me. Colonel that he kept on calling General, like the whole military portion of that was bothering me. And one of the things, I mean, and I thought it was, I thought it was a little bit funny, but anything he needed to do, if he did it in a movie, he knew how to do it. Yeah. In a movie, I flew a helicopter. Yeah, well, you want to know something? One of the things that I know is whenever you see like a star flying a plane or flying a helicopter, usually they're just sitting in a chair and they're just moving things around. They're not flying the goddamn thing. And it's harder to fly a helicopter than it is to fly an airplane. Like, it really does take a lot more skill to fly a plane, a chopper, than it does to fly a plane. Choppers are harder, okay, because there's more controls. So now, because Myrna is upset that I called her a bitch, because I did retweet it and include her in the retweet from. And yeah, and
I'm sorry, Myrna. He did. I went back and looked at it, and
could you retweet it to her? Could you retweet it to her, because that'll save me from looking for it. Okay?
Oh, and by the way, yeah, I hear that horrible noise too. It's when I'm talking. I just didn't know if it was Tony, you probably can't hear it, but I don't know if it's going out over the air, but whenever I talk, there's like a background of a hissing noise going on.
I'm not hearing anything from you. Okay. There's only one thing I can do, because I know when I'm not talking, I can look at my sound indicators at the bottom of the screen, and those little green lights aren't moving when I'm not talking. So when you're not talking, do you see those little green lights moving on your picture or on?
Yeah, I see yours, yeah, and then I can see mine when I'm talking, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know where that noise is, but I've got a door over here that's open. I can close that, but I don't know if that's what it is. Hold on.
Yeah, and Myrna, I am retweeting you. I'm sorry, he did tag you in it, so I'm quote tweeting it. So here it comes, and Tony, I'll put you in on it too. I'm quote tweeting the connection.
Retweet.
To Myrna. Yeah,
right, because she didn't call me a liar. She said, okay, so let's read Myrna's tweet and let's dissect it, where she's calling me a liar without calling me a liar. You know, like if I say, Dylan, I find it hard to believe that you went swimming today. That's me saying, Dylan, I don't believe you went swimming today. Just because you're sitting in front of me with a towel on your shoulders, I don't believe you went. When you say to someone, I don't believe you did that, you're calling that person a liar. Okay? Look at that. Right in between AJ and Jerry Fletcher is a Lee Mern, isn't it?
So, I don't know.
Wait, hold on. Let's read Myrna's tweet. I'm going to kick your ass. I didn't call you a liar. Don't call me a B. Where is it? I didn't get no tweet. Yeah, you did get a tweet. Maybe you didn't see it. Maybe you forgot it, but it was sent. And that's why it's 2016. And we shouldn't be using fax, because that's the same thing that happens when people send faxes. Oh, I never got the fax. Stupid people. So there. Okay, I see it, Tony. Yeah. Tony. Sorry for calling you a liar, Tony. Oh, and look, I put a funny joke in there, too. Philly, not a fashion show. Do you get it? September 1st, Philly, not a fashion show. Because if you look at the tweet from Joe Webb, big doings, details to follow later. All right. Okay, I don't know if the noise went away. These people are going to have to tell us if the noise went away, because my AC is down here, but if it was picking up the AC noise,
yeah, no, it's still there. No, John McGivern is like, there is some background noise when you're on talking. It sounds like static and someone else talking. So, yeah. To me, it sounds like a demonic creature is talking behind me. It's like,
yeah. So that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons why, you know, especially if the Lavalantula, I was thinking about something that really bothered me and bothered Dylan. Not just something, but a whole bunch of things, because there was something else that happened to me personally that, like, it just seemed like I had a whole slew of bad science going by in a short period of time. And so I sent Dylan an email, say, well, we'll talk about this, talk about this, talk about this. And hey, remember when we were talking about the movies and we were both going about things that bothered us, like things that you were tweeting during SharkNado week and things that I said that were bothering me. And in one of the movies, and I think it was Ice Sharks, someone coined the phrase, and Dawn retweeted it, and I can't remember the guy's name, sorry, created the term SyFyence, which is the science of science fiction movies. And it's spelled, but we spell it SYFY in honor of the Sci-Fi channel. And maybe we'll change the spelling because they're pissing me off. But anyway, SyFyence. Okay. Now, Dylan, do you know what the rules of the rules are of watching these movies?
Yeah, you and I get it all the time whenever I make a comment about something. Is like, just suspend your disbelief. It's for entertainment purposes. You know, have you never seen these movies before? Yes, I have seen these movies before, and that's the one that annoys me the most. Is when I make a comment about the science about it, and someone says, "You know what you're watching? Have you watched these before?" It's like, yes, I have. I've watched them for like 5 years. I know exactly what it is, but I like to point these things out because it's ridiculous.
So along those lines, posing a question: if you're doing something that's supposed to be science-y, I think even in a sci-fi movie, you should get some of it right. You don't have to get it 100% completely right. And from one of the movies, example, everybody knows my views about global warming. Okay, in Planet of the Sharks, there was one whole section of the movie where this one science-y type chick goes on and on and on about how they're going to save the planet with this rocket that they have, you know, and she's getting into the science-y stuff and whatnot. And that's not what bothered me, okay? Because after she got halfway through, I stopped listening to the gobbledygook that was coming out of her mouth because none of it made sense. It sounded good, okay? And I wasn't about to take notes. That's not the part that bothered me, okay? According to this movie, man's impact on the climate made the polar ice caps melt. And it all happened like in a day, which that could never happen. Okay. And like, if you, well, you know, you shouldn't nitpick. Yeah, you should, because climate change and global warming is, climate talks about the weather conditions on this planet. The climate is over hundreds of thousands of years, not 150 years. Okay. And the amount of energy that it would take to have the polar ice caps completely melt in that amount of short period of time, that the amount of energy it would take would kill everybody on the planet. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. everybody on the planet would be dead if it happened in that short period of time. The other thing that would happen is everything would be underwater. Everything. Where'd they get the gas? They're floating around in boats. Where did they get the gas? Simple question to ask. And the other thing is, everything would be dead. Likewise, like, let's say the energy didn't kill everybody. Well, if everything gets flooded out at the same time, really quickly, every nuclear power plant would melt down. All of the toxic chemicals everywhere in the world would get into the water, and it would kill everything anyway. So if it wasn't the energy of the melting ice caps, you know, and it's not, you know, it's so big of a stretch. Like, I mean, you could do things that are ridiculous. And Dylan, I know you were going to mention, because we got to talk about physics, and you mentioned this before the show, so I'll let you speak your piece. But cartoon physics, can you explain what you said, what you meant about that prior to the show?
I mean, cartoon physics is a pretty common term. Basically, you ever watch a cartoon, be it any of the Disney movies or Roadrunner and Coyote and Bugs Bunny and all that stuff, their world of physics and cartoons are completely different. The biggest example, a couple big examples, is the one where you can actually walk on air and not fall until you look down. So don't look down, just keep walking, you'll be able to walk in the air. Or the fact that, you know, when you do fall, you fall from a great, giant, massive amount, into the Grand Canyon, and you survive. And then a rock falls and falls on top of your head and crush you dead, and you still survive again. It's stuff like that, you know, or, you know, like Doctor Who, yes, the TARDIS is bigger on the inside, but in the cartoon physics world, you know, Bugs Bunny has a bag and he opens it up and he can pull like automobiles out of it. Another really good example is one of my favorite Bugs Bunny cartoons is when he alone is playing a baseball game against 9 baseball players, and he plays every position. So he throws the ball, and when they hit it, he runs and catches it, or he throws it to first base, and he takes the throw from second to first or whatever. He's able to be so fast that he can do that. But my favorite is still he throws the ball at 5 miles an hour, and it's slowly drifting towards home plate, and the batters go 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out, 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out, 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out. No, in real physics, you threw a ball at 5 miles an hour, it'll go boop. It won't go.
I think you missed one of my favorite ones of all time, and it always happens in the Roadrunner cartoons, where of course every trap that the Coyote sets up doesn't work right. But one of my favorite things that they do is, like, there'll be some kind of bait on a ledge, and there'll be some kind of contrivance to knock the ledge off, and in like at least 2 of them, and maybe more, and it happens in the Pink Panther too, because they use cartoon physics also, where instead of, when they break it off, instead of that piece falling, it's the mountain that falls that the Coyote is on, you know, and that piece, that little piece that you would think is going to fall off, just kind of hovers there.
Oh, and the other one about Roadrunner and Coyote is he draws those magnificent paintings of tunnels against a brick wall or a mountainside or whatever, and Roadrunner's able to run through it, and then Coyote tries to run through it, and a truck comes out and hits him,
or a train.
It's just, so, I mean, and then that's what they're doing with the SyFyence. Most egregious, I should say, is SharkNado. Yes, it is me. I don't know what it is. It's affecting.
I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing it. So, yes, I clicked the pinned tweet. Okay, so It's just Dylan, but it's a storm here, so maybe that affects it. Okay, so why don't you try doing this? Why don't you see what happens if you click this link? If you still, I guess not. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Let me see if I can catch the event page link and tweet that out.
Let me see if I can switch out my headphones here.
See, because I'm not hearing it, and so let's see. I cannot hear you. So what you may have to do is you may have to go back up to the control, and you may have to switch, because what happens with this thing, I know if I pull these things out, it wants to switch microphones on me. Yeah, Dylan, you might have to duck out. Can you hear me? You can hear me? Okay, I can't hear you. So go up to your settings and see what mic the thing is trying to use if you're still plugged in. Oh, you see, I just saw like your mic icon come up for a second. I don't have you muted. Let me see. Let me see. You know what? You're going to leave and come back? Yeah, all right. So Dylan is going to leave and come back. So you don't hear anything. How are you listening, Scotty? Because I think Mr. McGivna also, and I don't know if he included me on the tweet, but he mentioned. I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, it's still there. You know what, Myrna? There's nothing I can do about it right now. It's just sort of there. We'll see on the playback on the video if it shows up on the video itself. But
yeah, Scott says he doesn't hear it, and I'm not hearing it either. So I'm not hearing any kind of feedback or any kind of.
I mean, because I do hear when I talk, there is something going on. So I don't know.
That has happened with me in the past with different things, and sometimes I do and sometimes not. But
well, then I'll just continue on. Well, then what they do with the SharkNado movies then is they go and they take it into this SyFyence now, and they use some of the cartoon physics. Like, let's be honest, the biggest thing about SharkNado, and the thing they always do, is everybody's going to get eaten. And then they get their way out of the shark. They're going to cut their way out, or someone's going to cut them out, and they're going to be just fine. And is that possibly to be true? I guess. I mean, that's a possibility, but
if you've got a big enough shark, I'm sure you could fit in and get past those teeth without getting killed. But in the last one, I mean, you actually mentioned this when we were talking about when we were wrapping up SharkNado week, that in the first two, it was actually the first two. I think you said the first one, but they had a little bit of it in the second one where the streets got flooded and there was sharks swimming around. And
that was the first one. That was it. I mean, the first one.
They had it. They had it in the second one too, if you remember. Yeah, when they were in Midtown. And Judd Hirsch was the cab driver. Remember, they had that cable thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. They
set up because they didn't have the sharks in the street, and I had a problem with the and I think it was Jeans that said to me, "Oh, you've got a problem with the." Well, yeah, because at least in the first two movies, you know, the sharks were kind of swimming around and then flying around. These sharks have been flying around for days, you know, and they're still, I mean, granted, if something the size of a shark came flying out of the air and it landed on you, yeah, it would kill you. But these sharks, they always managed to take a bite out of somebody, you know, as they were spinning around.
And let's get into that too, because I don't know if you mentioned it or if it was someone else, is like, they know how climate works, because when a tornado happens, a tornado does not go from Las Vegas through Kansas all the way to the East Coast or wherever it ends up and never dissipate. It never has happened. I think the longest tornado maybe it ever run is a couple miles maybe, and then it dissipates. It's just the way windshields are, and it runs out of its power. Plus, right. And then on that is, if it's going to take days to cross through this, you're crossing through the desert where it's hot. If sharks need the water to survive, yeah, you've got the water in the tornado, but it's going to eventually evaporate in the sun and the desert and stuff like that.
Well, remember, in in the last movie, they also had a sand NATO, an oil NATO, a lava NATO. They were doing all these other NATOs, and so not that it got ridiculous. Look, I like the story. I like where they're going, and if they're going to do a number 5, they've got to take a look at what they're doing, because the first 2 movies I think were really good, and the next 2 maybe not so much, but besides that, now one of the big things that you had to bring on the SyFyence discussion was ice sharks. Okay, and anybody who's watched The Deadliest Catch knows that if you fall into the icy water, you have something like 5 minutes. Like, if you're not protected, like, you will go into hypothermia and you will go to sleep, your body will shut down, and then like 2 minutes after that, you will die. And what's even worse is coming out of the water, because in some cases the water might be a little bit warmer than the temperature of the air. And once you come out of the water, you got to get dry and warm really quick. And Dylan was having a big problem tweeting. It really, really bothered.
I think I even covered it in my after show, because that was my Dylan Knows after show. I think I hit on that a little bit also. Look, you know what? There are polar bear plunges that happen all the time. Okay? There's one in Baltimore. It happens in January. They go into the water and they frolic around the water and then they run out. But here's a couple of things. The water in the Chesapeake Bay or wherever it is that this takes place is not
47 degrees.
Yeah, it's not Antarctic 10-degree water, because there's no ice floating in the bay. Has it floated in the bay? Yes, it has. But there is no icebergs or anything like that. It's water and it's cold, yes. But they also, as soon as you run out, guess what? They've got heaters everywhere, heated tents. They've got heated towels. They got everything. They got EMS and everybody on hand in case someone does have a little bit of hypothermia. But we're talking about the Arctic, okay? The Arctic is cold. No matter what you think about climate change or whatever, the Arctic is still freaking cold. Even during the summer, it's still freaking cold.
Both think about this, okay? Hypothermia occurs when your body's core temperature drops to below 95 degrees. Your body temperature is 98.6. So we're talking about a 4-degree drop. You go into that water in the Chesapeake Bay, it could be 29 degrees outside. They do it up here. They do it in New York. They do it, all up and down the East Coast. And whenever they have one of these polar bear plunges, the water temperature is generally warmer than the air. Okay? They go in, they do their plunge, they collect the money for the charity, and like you said, they get out and get into the heat. They get heated. Okay? The first thing is, you got to realize, those people are cold. If they're standing there on the beach, they go into the water, it may feel warmer, but the water, again, like Dylan says, doesn't have to be freezing. We're talking about dropping your core temperature down 4 degrees. Okay? And that can happen very quickly, especially with the polar bear people, because most of the time they're wearing regular bathing suits. They have no protection whatsoever. And it was just funny to watch Dylan. Like, I knew it was like really bothered. Like, I could see, like you're making that face that you're making now. Like, why are they doing this? Okay.
The most egregious problem with it was when they're flooding the interior of the cabin and they're standing in the Arctic water for, it seems like, minutes, and they're not showing any signs at all. It's almost as if it's a day at the beach.
Yeah, there should be some shivering, and because there's no way of heating that water before it comes in. Hi,
baby. Hi. Bye-bye. Good night, baby.
Scotty still hasn't watched SharkNado 4. But you need to watch it just because you need to be punished just like we were. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, it was a good movie to snark along with. To tell you the truth, a movie like that, I mean, I almost hate movies that are popular because I like being in. I guess I'm so used to being in the chiller chats that like there's 15 or 20 people that are always there, you know. And with the sci-fi movies, most of the time it was SnarkAlec and a couple other jerks that were tweeting along with us. But I knew everybody in the queue, and you know, you could see it. When you get something that's really popular, the tweets go by so quickly, like you can't even look. Like, to tell you the truth, I was looking at the SnarkAlec feed. You know, I wasn't even looking at the hashtag feed. Like, I wasn't looking at anybody that wasn't a SnarkAlec when those movies were on, because you just couldn't keep up. There was no way to keep up. But so now, along with these movies, and again, that movie, Ice Sharks, it was a scientific expedition that was doing what, Dylan? I can't remember.
It was checking on climate change.
Oh, yeah, climate change. And they were trying to measure the melting of the ice caps and, you know, the thickness of the ice sheet, blah, blah, blah. But let's put that all aside. Again, I think the question needs to be asked when your premise is that you're doing science. You should, you know, it's up to you to set up a world and at least understand it. And you can't just take, okay, so this is what the movie's going to be about, and not know anything about the subject matter that you're talking about. Like there was a couple of things that happened in that movie that didn't make sense. You know, like it just bothered me because of the way they did it, but they had to do it in certain ways. Like I mentioned the snowmobile. You know, the guy was going to the sensor and he parks it like 150 yards away from the sensor. And the reason that he did that was because when he gets ripped apart by the shark, you know, if the snowmobile was right there, he would have been able to get away. That's the only way they could do it. So,
my other big problem I had with it also, and I was just thinking about it, I'll put it in comparison with it, a good movie. When the finale happens and the sharks have knocked the research facility into the underwater and they're all underwater and trying to figure out a way out, they're able to get pulled out by the helicopter, I guess. The whole facility is able to get pulled out by the helicopter. They're not necessarily that deep down there, but they're deep enough that there's a little something called the bends that's happened. It's something that does with your oxygen or something, Tony, right?
Nitrogen in your bloodstream bubbles up, and because of the pressure and...
Yeah, and it happens even when you're that's why scuba divers, they have to take their time to make their way back up. They can't just shoot right up. It's just not the way it is. Now, a good example of good science is the movie The Abyss, which is one of my absolute favorite movies. James Cameron did it, and it's about an underwater facility that's checking out, stuff like that. And they get brought up really quickly by the, spoiler alert, the aliens that are living underwater. And they actually have a little throw-off line that explains everything. It's like, we should be, they said we should be, bent over, hunched over, be suffering from the bends. And then they're like, oh yeah, the aliens must have done something to, make us not have to deal with that. And that makes sense. The aliens did something. You can believe that in a science fiction film about aliens who live underwater, that they want you to survive, so they lifted you up very quickly, but you did not suffer the bends because they did something about it. And they mentioned it. They said, we should be suffering from this. But they said, no, I guess the aliens did something to help us. They just said, oh, yay, we're free. We did it. Yay.
Okay, so if you got a chance, I'm giving Helena a tweet of the night for a tweet she just sent to me.
She didn't copy me. She hates me.
Actually, let's see if I retweet, and hey, I'll hit Holiday. and I'll hit Myrna, and I'll hit Scotty. I don't know when we're going to watch Killer Sharks. Maybe. Is there anything going on Saturday? Oh, no, I'm not going to be around this weekend. So, and I'll be nice, and I'll hit Myrna up with it. I haven't seen the tweet. Maybe next weekend if there's nothing going on. I'm trying to think. Anyway, so again, I've got an example of because this also happened. I was reading a book. Now you can take science fiction, and there are different subcategories in science fiction. One of them is hardcore science fiction, and there's several authors like Gregory Benford and a couple other guys that when they talk about going out into deep space and stuff, they get the science right as far as we know it. There is, even Star Trek gets the science right. Okay. Some people have a problem with Star Trek as far as, how they travel. But I mean, the way they travel in Star Trek, and I think I may have covered this once, but I'll cover it again. The way they travel in Star Trek is, right now they say that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. Okay. So how does how do they do it in Star Trek? Okay. The same way they kind of do it in Star Wars. Okay. Which is Star Wars, they call it hyperspace, but in Star Trek, it's the warp drive. So if this napkin was space, okay, what they do is they actually warp it. So if the Enterprise is here on this side and they want to get here, what they do is warp space, and then they just pass through it. So when they unwarp space, now they're there. So you see, they traveled a great distance without traveling a great distance, and they never broke the speed of light. They call it hyperspeed or hyperspace in the Star Wars movie. And with a lot of the Star Wars movies and even Star Trek, a lot of people say, well, you can't do that in Battlestar Galactica, the way the ships move around. That's impossible. The people would be dead. And that's because some people are relying on real physics. Okay. So I've got a question for you, Dylan. Okay. Have you ever been on an airplane?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever been on an airplane that had a fly flying around the cabin?
I don't think so.
Okay. So now, there's two laws of physics that apply to everything. Newton's laws, one of them says an object in motion will remain in motion until it's met by an opposing force. Next law is an object at rest will remain at rest unless it is met by an opposing force. So if you're on an airplane and let's say you had something like a battery in your hand, so the plane is traveling at 550 miles an hour. When you're on the airplane, what happens if you let go of that battery?
I honestly don't know. I really don't.
Well, no. Okay. So you're traveling at 550 miles an hour and you're holding the battery. That battery is on the plane, and so are you. It's also traveling at 550 miles an hour. So if I was to let go of this battery on an airplane, drops to the floor. The same thing that would happen on a plane. Now, what happens to a fly if a fly is flying around the cabin?
It probably keeps flying around, right?
It keeps flying around because the plane is moving at 500 miles an hour. The cabin is pressurized. The air in the cabin is also moving with the plane at 550 miles an hour. Now, earlier, we talked about cartoon physics. Now, in cartoon physics, what happens, if you're holding a battery and you let go, instead of gravity taking effect and it dropping straight down, that battery goes that way. Because it's not moving anymore. Now, what happens when you jump out of an airplane? Start going down. But the first thing that happens when you go out the door, if the plane is moving at 550 miles an hour, if you step out of the airplane, guess what happens?
Wouldn't you go that way?
Yeah, you go backwards. Why?
Oh, backwards,
Because
okay.
the plane is moving at 550 miles an hour. You are moving with the plane. You step out of the airplane. Now you've got nothing to propel you. You're still moving with some speed, but something else happens. You hit the air, okay, which is an opposing force. So you're going to step out the plane, and without getting into a whole bunch of complicated math that I don't know how to do anyway, you are going to slow down really quickly, and you're going to accelerate towards the ground until you hit about like 120, and then you'll smash into the ground at 120 miles an hour. But the thing is, as soon as you step out of the plane, there's an opposing force, okay? Or there's resistance. It's stopping you because it's moving across the skin of the airplane at 550 miles an hour, yes, but as soon as you step out, you've got nothing that's moving you. So as soon as you get out of the plane's jet wash, you will stop moving horizontally and you'll just
Plummet.
drop,
Yeah.
plummet down. So now take that same scenario, and what happens when you're in space? I'm sure people are loving this shit.
Nothing happens, right? If you go out you float away, I guess. There's no gravity.
Yes. However, the same physics kind of applies if you're on the outside of a spaceship, the space shuttle or a rocket or the space station. That is moving around the Earth. Now but let's talk about a rocket that's out in space, between the Earth and the Moon. Okay, if that rocket is traveling at a certain direction, at a certain speed, and you're holding onto the outside of the rocket, guess what? You're basically traveling at the same direction at the same speed.
Okay.
What happens when you let go?
Float away.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
If you just let go and you're not tethered, the difference between being in space, which is a virtual vacuum, I mean, it's not a perfect vacuum, and jumping out of an airplane is the density of the air. Okay, so if you just let go of the spaceship, you were moving at, let's say, 10,000 miles an hour. Okay, guess what? You're still moving at 10,000 miles an hour.
Okay.
Unless you push off. Now, every action, we learn, has an equal and opposite reaction. Now, if I was outside of a spaceship and I pushed on it, the equal and opposite reaction would be that I would probably move that rocket a little bit, just a tiny bit, and I would move it so small an amount that you might not be able to measure it until 6 months to a year went by, and then you'd find out that it deviated by an inch or 2 inches or something like that. That's what would happen. But depending on how I pushed myself off, I'd start to move away from the rocket, but I'd still be moving at 10,000 miles an hour.
Oh, okay.
Now, if I let go and gave myself a little push, I would probably move away a little bit, but I'd still be moving with it. Why? Because space is a vacuum, so I'm not going to run into any kind of resistance. Okay? So I just finished reading a book where this kind of scenario happened, and this is like at the same time all these SharkNado bad science movies are going on, where someone did just that. And you want to know what they did? within 2 minutes, actually within a minute and a half, the person was so far away that they could not even get a radio signal from the person. And the person was talking to them. But the rocket was moving so fast that the person could not be saved. And I was like, you've got to be free. And it was one of those books that wasn't trying to be sciencey. But something like that is pretty basic. Now, I'll give you an example of not good, bad science fiction. Have you ever read any of the John Carter books?
No, I haven't.
Okay. In the John Carter books, don't try and be scientific at all. Okay? He goes to sleep in a cave. He wakes up in Mars. Okay? Do a couple of little things with gravity. He's really strong out in Mars. Everybody on Mars speaks English. He can eat the food. There's different types of aliens, blah, blah, blah. He does a whole bunch of stuff. Goes to sleep. Wakes up. He's back on Earth. And then he goes to sleep and comes back to Mars. I don't have a problem with that, because it's more about an adventure. It's a story about an adventure. It's not about science fiction-y stuff where this story and some of these movies where they do involve science. I mean, you don't have to get it right. You don't have to. But I think there is, good science fiction takes something that's plausible and makes it like The Abyss. Okay? As soon as you say the word alien, you make it science fiction. As soon as you say alien. But there are other movies that are in a vein like that.
Michael Crichton's good at that. Michael Crichton did a bunch of those like that.
Michael Crichton's done a lot of things with people like pandemics and things along those lines. I read a lot of his stuff, and then I realized I was reading his stuff, and then they were turning his stuff into movies, and then I stopped reading his stuff because I wasn't going to go to the movies because I don't like the way his movies. And I've never read The Abyss, and that movie was so good. I would probably be disappointed if I went back and tried to read the book. But yeah, it is a fine line when it comes to the science. And like I said, you don't have to get everything right and come up with new theories. But as I was saying with the book, and notice I'm not even going to tell you who the author is. I'm not going to tell you the name of the book. But I mean, this is something that's so basic that like a 6th grade kid should be able to tell you what's going to happen if you're out in a spaceship and you let go. A physicist will say just the act of letting go is going to give you a little bit of a push away from the craft. But if you're not extending your arm, like holding on and going like that to push yourself away, you're not going to move away at the amount of speed that and you're not going to start falling behind. Or if you do start falling behind, it shouldn't be because, hey, guess what? In most space flight that we know of today, like going to the moon, the rockets aren't burning the whole time. Like once they get on course, those rockets shut down, and for the most part, they kind of coast out to where they're going. The only time that they burn rockets again is, hey, guess what? Those things don't have brakes, so they have to turn the rockets on in reverse to slow down. And it just, unfortunately, I started reading this book, and it was part of a trilogy, and I got 4 or 5 chapters deep, and it was pretty good. Like I could see where the story was going. It wasn't bad. So I said, let me get the next 2 books, and I got the next 2 books, and I got more than halfway through, and then I was like, okay. And it was just this one thing. Everything else I'm okay with. I can let everything else, but this one thing was like, yeah, this guy was an important character. She kind of dangled this character out there, and that's why it pissed me off. Like, this is a good guy, blah 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 blah. Good guy's gone. Guy that could have done some stuff, and the guy's gone. Okay. Oh, you forgot what we were talking about? We are just about to talk about Two Lava, Two Angela.
We already talked about it.
Phelps won another gold?
Yeah, I
what
saw
is that?
that.
Is he up to 5?
Let me see. See, he's done 6 events. He's done 6 events. No, I think he's only done 4. I think he's won gold in all 4 of his events. So he has 6 events. He's done 4 events. So it's his 4th one in this one. 22 total. I gotta like the guy because he went to my high school and he grew up in my neighborhood.
No, he's a hero as far as I'm concerned.
It was great when he. I think it had to have been London, 2012. Yeah, because kids were there. Yeah, it was 2012, I think. They had a parade for when he became the biggest gold, the most gold medal winner in 2012. We had a parade for him in his old neighborhood. It was York Road is the main road that goes all the way down to Baltimore City if you're careful. But we blocked it off a certain area, and there was parades, stuff like that. And he came out at the end and had on his float. He lived across the street and about 2 blocks over from where I grew up. And then he went to my high school. They've got a name. One of the roads around there is named after him. So it's a big deal for our neighborhood because not a lot of people know about the Rogers Forge, Annesley area. Now they do because of him.
Well, it's just, and I'm going to say something that sounds silly, but and the reason I say that is, there are some athletes like some of the track and field guys that run different distances have the opportunity to compete for more than one medal. Swimming is one of those competitions where there are team events and there's individual events and different distances. And it's pretty unique that way because he can compete in not just one event. Like I said earlier when we were talking about the opening games and I watched the Fiji guys, those guys have one sport, okay? And once they're done, that's it. They have one competition. And like I said, I don't think Fiji has any other athletes in anything else. So these guys could never, ever, even if the whole team put their medals together, could still not come close to Phelps. Yeah. Because there were 7 guys. They're going to get 7 gold medals. And Phelps himself has almost as many of those. Well, he could potentially pick up another 6 this time around. So, Phelps almost got as many golds if he does what he should do as the entire nation of Fiji, which is kind of funny if you think about it. But and they're getting 7 medals in one event, and he's got a gold medal in 6 different events. So it still weighs a little bit more in the Phelps thing.
No, I agree with that. No, that's one of the things they point out also is that, they're always throwing out the words, is he the greatest Olympian of all time? Or do you want to do like a Carl Lewis who won a bunch of stuff? Well, as you said, with track and field, Carl Lewis only had so many races or whatever he could do, where Phelps has team events and there's so many different individual ones he could do. And more power to him, though. I love it. It's great. I'm glad he got his life fixed after all of his problems the last couple of years.
Right, and I think some of the skiers have the same opportunity in the Winter Olympics. Like there's different lengths for different downhill races, but even they don't come, because the people that do the tricky things aren't the people that ski downhill for speed. So it is that unique sport that you can garner a bunch of things. Maybe some of the not even the bicycle racing guys have that many different events and distances, But they have the same situation where there's relays and there's individual racing competitions. But yeah, we already talked about Tu Lava Tulantula. Myrna, you weren't paying attention. So I know Scott has Netflix. Do you have Netflix?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a movie. This is a homework assignment. You must watch this movie. Actually, I'm gonna switch hats here, and I'm gonna make believe I'm on Nurture and Support, and I'm gonna give you some recommendations.
Okay.
Write these down. There's a show called Stranger Things.
Yes, I know about that one.
Okay, you need to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
You need to watch Stranger Things before the next news. It's 8 episodes, and they're about 45 minutes a piece. I think 1 or 2 might be a tiny bit longer. Very good. Very good. I would like to be able to discuss it with you. And maybe we could get Scotty to come on with us because that just makes him shit his pants whenever I talk about having him come on one of these hangouts. It just makes him shit. Yes, Phelps has more medals than Scotty has hair on his head. There's another show called Between on Netflix. It's a Netflix original show. That's got 2 seasons. I don't think they're going to do a third. The way the second season ended, they could end it right there, but they could potentially go to a 3rd season. The next thing I'm going to give you, and now, none of these shows you could watch anywhere near your kids, only because Stranger Things.
I know about Stranger Things. I've read all the articles and heard people talk about it. Yeah, it's the sci-fi Stephen King / horror sci-fi thing going on.
Yeah, there's some horror, blood, and nastiness going on. Same thing with Between. But it's good. It's a pretty fast moving story. This next one might be even funnier than Zombieland, and it's called The Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
I've heard of that one too.
Okay. I recently watched this, and it's an amusing. It's a pretty decent story, some pretty good acting, pretty amusing things happen. It's almost. I'm not going to put it up there now. Okay, so let me ask you, which movie did you like better? Have you seen Shaun of the Dead?
Shaun of the Dead?
Yes.
I like Shaun of the Dead better, just because I have that more of the British sort of humor to it.
Okay.
Zombieland was fine. It was fine. I liked it. I liked Shaun of the Dead a little bit more.
I think I would not even be talking about Zombieland if it wasn't for Bill Murray. If it wasn't for Bill Murray's cameo in that movie, I don't know if it would have been worth watching.
Yeah, I love Woody Harrelson. I thought he was fantastic.
He's good. I like the characters. I just don't think
it's as amazing, I guess, as everybody claims it to be. Yeah, I guess.
So it's not. Now, if I was going to put Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse in there, I would rank them Shaun of the Dead number 1, Scout's Guide number 2, and Zombieland number 3.
Okay, that's fair.
There are a couple of things that happen in this movie that actually made me laugh out loud. And to get me to laugh out loud, there was a couple of things that were, kind of predictable. Okay, you're going to do that. Ha, ha, ha. You're laughing at the back of your head. There was a couple of things that happened in this movie that I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. I can't. And I would definitely tell you that Dawn would need to see this too. But you definitely can't have the kids anywhere, especially if you see 1 or 2 of these key scenes in a Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
I mean, it's interesting because due to circumstances, whatever, Dawn has basically become co-den leader of Noah's Boy Scout troop. So I think she'd probably actually really enjoy that too. So I've been wanting to see Stranger Things in a while, so I think I'm going to try to hit that first, maybe, and then we'll see what happens. It's a movie. It's probably an hour and a half long, right? So
it's an hour. It's an hour and a half, so it's not that long. So what I've been watching, what I'm watching now is I went back to the beginning and I am watching the X-Files. There's 202 episodes of the X-Files for me to go through, and I've forgotten a lot of this stuff. I mean, this is 20 years ago when this show was first came out. So and some of them, you know, sometimes when you have the TV on, you might be doing something else. Like, you know, you're having dinner or you're cooking or you're doing this and it's on in the background and you're watching it, you know, you're doing stuff and you don't pay full attention. I'm actually watching it, you know. It's got my full attention and it's nice because there are no commercials. So whenever it fades to black, it fades from black right back to the show and it just keeps on going. So
a great thing about the X-Files is I was on board with them from day one when they came on, and I was in college when it first came out, so I was able to get a bunch of my fellow college roommates, including Eric Anow, who is a SnarkAlec, to come and watch it with us. So Friday night, when it was on Friday, would be like our X-Files night, and we would watch that on Friday nights. And then when it shipped this Sunday, I don't know if we gathered as much, but I still watched up to a certain point. I think I stopped watching it around season 6 or 7. But yeah, there's some good ones in there, and there are also some dogs in there too.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I remember when I was watching it, and I drifted away from it, and I went back, and then I drifted away again. So I want to, because the problem with Mulder is that he's so on track. Like, it got to the point where it's easy to predict what his reaction to any given situation is going to be, and it gets a little bit tiresome. The character to really watch is Scully, because she's the one who actually evolves more than he does, you know, to her betterment, she does, whenever she does start making that turn in each episode, and, you know, like, still in the first season, and you could already see her start to, she's actually leaning a little bit. She's not doing a full turn, but she always finds a scientific, logical reason to pursue whatever they're looking at that moment. That, you know, like Mulder looks at her and says, "Hey, you want to know something? If he had her from the beginning, you know, he would have gotten a lot more done." But there's the intrigue and stuff going on. Question out there for Myrna: when is the strain coming back?
August 28th. Yeah.
August 28th is when the strain is coming back, and I think, is it the week before that we get
yes,
Fear?
Mm-hmm.
So just as long as the strain stays at 10 o'clock and Fear's at 9, things will be okay in my world. The problem is going to occur is, when does the last ship end? Because the reason that I've been spending so much time on Netflix is there's nothing to watch on TV now. I mean, everything that I was watching is now gone. And I don't see anything coming up in the future. So, no, seriously, we had this conversation about, hey, the summer is when I'm watching TV. Yeah. I'm not watching TV during, you know, except for those 2 or 3 key shows, you know, the zombie shows. And when I say the zombie shows, I mean all 3 of them. And if you need me to list them, Z Nation, don't forget about that one.
Oh yeah, that's coming up. I think they did that during SharkNado. They announced that's September 9th, I think. Let me see that. Yeah, it's September 9th, I think. It's coming back on Fridays. And I think they said it was September 9th was when it's come back. So that's not that far away. I mean, that's about a month away now. So I'm excited for that. Because that second season was amazing. And I'm looking forward to see what we're going to be doing the third season.
Is there a Stranger Things deadline? I need Netflix.
We're going to discuss it. I think she means we're going to discuss it next SNews. That was what you wanted to do.
Yes,
right,
we're going to discuss it next SNews if that's when you were thinking of. Now, this guy named Carlos came on and said, no, surprise, you don't have it. He says, and this guy is full of shit, you're pretty savvy. No, but surprised you don't have it. You're pretty savvy. So yes, the deadline is before next SNews. Okay. It's a Netflix show. Netflix shows never expire. That's the question that this guy's answering.
Oh, okay.
Because sometimes when a show is on, it may be there for a given set amount of time. The same thing with movies. Like they may have an agreement, like we're going to carry that movie for 3 years, and then after 3 years, it may drop that off. You know, so that may be the question that this dude was answering.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. You're right. I mean, it's a Netflix original. They're probably not going to want to take off their originals because they paid for them.
No, it's a Netflix original. It will not expire. It's their movie. So we've got that. Fear is coming back. We've got Z Nation. Fear is coming back, I think, the weekend before, if I'm not mistaken.
It's 21st. It is 21st, yeah.
So, and we've covered this, the last two snoozes. We've mentioned it. Looking forward to it. So, one of the few, apparently, well, one of the few that will publicly admit that I'm looking forward to Fear a little bit more than I'm looking forward to The Walking Dead. So, we've got that. Let's see what else is going on Twitter. Let's see, Marta's going to be pissed at me. I watch so much of regular channels, never needed it. Well, you see, I don't, because right now, if you like cop shows, that's what's on, you know? And right now, if you don't realize it, you've got the Law & Order channel, you got the NCIS channel, and you've got the Criminal Minds channel, because I know that's all that's on in my house if I don't have the remote control in my hand. I've seen every episode of all those shows, I think, at least 5 times. And I'm just tired of cop shows. They're good. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You finish up your...
Oh, my rant was going to be, hey, look at the clock. Hey, there's 42 minutes left in the show. You know, at the 40-minute mark, that's when they make the realization. That's when they come to the idea of the resolution. And at that point, that's when they go out and capture the person. You know, they've got it all figured out. You know, so just look at the clock, and, you know, that's when they have it all figured out. Law and Order are a little bit different because they do the law and the order part. Sometimes it's more law and less order, you know, and sometimes it's more order and less law. But still, the 40-minute mark, you know, that's when they get their last bump in the road, and then it ends, you know, I prefer that show to most cop shows only because it does have a little bit of a different
take to it on it. Yeah, touch on it. I mean, the main reason why I got Netflix was I wanted to watch the Marvel, because I'm a comic book guy. I wanted to watch the Marvel shows, the Daredevils and the Jessica Joneses and Luke Cages. So, but then you get into it and you get to see some more things. I was ecstatic to see they have every episode of Twin Peaks on there because I love Twin Peaks. I have them, but it's fun to just go to Netflix and hit it and watch them that way. The X-Files, they got all the X-Files episodes, you know.
All the Doctor Who's.
Well, no, Doctor Who's now on Amazon. They
moved. They took it off.
Netflix doesn't have them anymore. It moved to Amazon now. So Prime or the Amazon channel. That's why Dawn got Amazon Prime.
I don't have Amazon Prime, but I am glad that I did what I did, and I binged Doctor Who last year when I did. to get caught up with the. Actually, it was a year, maybe 2 years ago when I watched it, because I've seen the last 2 seasons, I think, on TV. But it's Doctor Who. Okay, if you want to talk about a show, take the physics out of it. They leave the physics in, but only they get enough of the physics right. Like they don't blatantly say "fuck you, physics" in Doctor Who. I mean, they're traveling through time, so they're already doing that, as far as I'm concerned. But the Doctor does obey the laws of the universe, other than being able to bop around from place to place and go wherever he wants, whenever he wants. That is, it's a great show, and it's really far-flung sci-fi, but it's done well, and they don't, because it really is more about the story than anything else. And whenever they have to do science-y stuff, they for the most part, they don't crap all over everything, which is another great example of it done well. Oh, look, Consweet says, I remember seeing that, Myrna. I remember seeing that tweet. Who else saw the tweet, Myrna? I'm sure AJ saw it and Jerry Flesher saw it. Well, I know Dylan saw it.
Jerry might not have, because she's on she's on a cruise ship now, so who knows?
Okay, so she's probably not going to see it, because when she comes back and she turns on her phone and she gets hit with 1,000 notifications, then she'll ignore it, because there's just so many notifications that she won't see it. But yeah. So so that's about it. Unless there was anything else anybody wanted to know about anything. Yeah.
So I think September 8th will probably be a good day. It's opening day of football, but it's Panthers Broncos, so who cares?
Okay, so let's see. So the McGivens say that you love Stranger Things. I mean, if out of everything that I've mentioned, and I know I mentioned Stranger Things to you a couple of times, dude, like I would do that one first, because it's not the show that you think it's going to be. Like, it's not what you think it's going to be. You know what I mean? It's that good. But hey, John and Helena, I think you guys need to watch, and you need to do this quickly. You need to watch A Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, and tell us what you think about that. If you do not laugh your butts off, especially at one or two different things that happen in that movie, then Myrna will buy you a new car.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So September 8th is the next news. We need an APB out for Laura Norman, because I sent her a tweet earlier today, and I have not seen her on Twitter, usually, I think, since Tuesday. And usually she comes in and scolds me for something, and I just haven't seen her around.
Yeah, I sent her something too, and she didn't respond to it either. So
yeah, so we got the birthdays done, and yeah, so we got Fear. Fear we will mention again. No, we won't. Fear we won't, because that's coming up. And The Strain. So we won't be seeing you people until after those are already in. So that's good. So there'll be a couple of episodes of Fear in, and hopefully The Last Ship ends, because that's going to be the big conflict.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be about 3 episodes of Fear and 2 episodes of The Strain by the time we have our next show. So
yeah. The Ship season 3. Just episodes is in season 3. Oh, is the 28th the last episode? That really sucks. That that's because, okay, so guess what? That's going to get relegated to the DVR because, and I really like that show. I really like that show. You know, Jane's on it. Baldwin. And Dr. McSteamy or Dr. McTreaty's on it too. I like him. It's really nice. Yeah, so that's about it. So, wait, one more comment. Was there another comment? What did I miss? Way ahead of you. Seen Boy Scouts Guide twice. Loved it. Okay. So
McGivness did. Okay.
Helena said she's seen it twice. Okay, so I'm talking about the scene on the trampoline, Helena. Did that make you laugh? The trampoline scene. That whole trampoline scene. So let's wait until we get an answer from her. And I don't want to say anything more than the trampoline because she's seen it twice, so she should know exactly what I'm talking about. But I just could not believe they did what they did in that. I just thought it was so ridiculous that it is worthy of being spoken about.
I'll keep my eye out for it.
Yeah. I should have done this. Yeah, Stillin's tired. You got to go to work tomorrow. I don't.
Yeah. Ooh, I might miss Fear. Because 21st, we're going to go to Hershey Park. I also have the DVR. Yeah. Yeah. Our last gasp is I'm going to take a 4-day weekend. 21st, 22nd. I'm taking 22nd, 23rd off. It's the last 2 days before school starts for the kids. We're going to go to Hershey Park. So
I was going to say, I hope you're not coming home home that day because so for me to get to Hershey Park, it's about 2.5 hours, I think. But if we never do this, but if we were to drive there, go to the park and then try and get home, we may or may not make it, only because I would be dead tired. If I was doing that drive and spending 12 hours in the park, that's a long day. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll drive out on a Friday and we'll be there on Saturday. And one time we actually stayed over and came home on Sunday morning, and one time we actually went to the park, did the park, and we went home that evening. But if you want to stay till the fireworks, and I think they do fireworks every Saturday night, if you're going to stay for the fireworks, you're not getting out of the park till 11 o'clock.
Yeah. We're not going to be there on that Saturday. It takes us 90 minutes, hour and a half to get there. We're going to go like midday Sunday and get our hotel, and then go in before last couple hours before it closes, and then
right, because you buy the tickets. If you buy the tickets on Sunday, they let you go in on Sunday evening, and then you use your tickets the next day. Yes, that's an awesome thing that they do.
And then all day Monday, and then we'll probably leave early Tuesday because school starts on Wednesday, so we can get back home. The kids can recover, so should be fun.
Okay. So Myrna didn't hear all those nice things that I said about her because Twitter stopped working and then she got disconnected. So I'll try catching the ending later. All right. So anyway. So that's it for now.
Okay.
I was just stalling a little bit to see if we got we'll get an answer from Helena on Twitter. So we will see you guys September 8th. September 8th, and you want to know something? I should just come over here to September 8th, and I should add a new event.
SNews for September.
Edit the event. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, from blah 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 blah. It's not all day. Event to find the time. I'm going to look at my time thingy over here, and I'm going to say here, SNews.
Yeah, an 8-hour snooze. We should try that sometime.
If we had some guests worthy of wasting 8 hours on. Okay, that's good. That's good. From 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, save. That's okay. That's there. So good night, everyone. September 8th. We mentioned the 21st of August, the 28th of August, for The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, and The Strain, which is coming back. And try to watch Stranger Things and or Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. And believe me, when we talk about it, it'll be spoiler free. But it should be funny enough. So with that, we'll say goodnight, and we'll catch you guys next month.
Okie dokie.
Okay, yeah, you see, he mentioned it. Look at Twitter. Oh no, I'll retweet it to you. Good night, people.